Fam, what's up? Welcome back to the CEO Pulse podcast, where you get the real, the raw, and the mind of entrepreneurship. Another beautiful episode of the Mindset Monday series with my co-host, Justin Thorstad.
Thank you.
Did you see how I landed that one?
I did. I liked it. It was good. Yeah. Well done.
Well, it started up here and then went, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm telling you, bro. It takes talent. Let's talk about the concept of acceptance. I know we've talked about surrender. We've talked about a whole bunch of things that kind of fall along the lines of that, but we haven't really tackled acceptance. And you had a pretty interesting perspective this morning about the concept of acceptance, right? And that's acceptance without preference. In my head, acceptance without preference sounds like there's no end goal, no vision, right? Because there's no preference. Like if you have vision, by default you have a preference. But you made a couple of really, really valid points, which I want to dive into, and I think it's going to be a fun conversation. So
yeah, absolutely.
Let's get it.
It's one of my favorites. Yeah, because we could talk about this topic and go down a rabbit hole for hours. However, we can also keep it simple too. So
yeah, no. So let's break it down. All right. So we're talking about acceptance. Acceptance is one of the biggest things, right? Whenever there's friction in anything that we're going through, it's because there's no acceptance. There's a lack of acceptance to what's going on, to our situation, to our results, to our own beingness, to who we are as human beings, our sense of worthiness. And, we're not accepting something in particular, right? And that pushes us to have friction and have negative energy buildup towards all these things. Now, with that being said, when you accept something that's coming at you, right? But you have no preference behind it. Theoretically, like all the energy, the negative energy towards it, would be kind of surrendered, right? It would be gone, right?
Release.
Because whatever happens, and then I get to see a lot of people and that are just so fluid. It's like just going with the flow. Nothing seems to stir them up and everything, and they live in this state of acceptance and beingness, which exactly, right? For me as an entrepreneur, I feel like that's I've had that experience, but I'm not the dude that lives there. You know what I mean? Yet.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. I break this down. What do you mean by acceptance without preference?
Yeah. So thanks for opening it up like that. Basically, think about it. We all have a preference because we have a mind, and the mind only does two things. It thinks about what it wants and how does it get it, what it doesn't want and how to avoid it. And so when we have a situation, maybe it's, you lost a deal, a client went sideways on you, ghosted you, whatever the case is. And, what you thought was going to happen has all crumbled. Clearly now you're in resistance to the situation.
Right.
Because the mind's saying, I don't like this. This is not what I wanted. I wanted this over here and I'm not getting it. Now, when we're in resistance, that's a pretty strong energy, because really our mind is paying attention to what is that shouldn't be, and now we're feeding that with energy. We're infusing the situation with energy, and it must multiply. So it's going to grow, and now we're going to find more reasons to be in resistance. That's why we said in past episodes as well, like what you resist persists, because it becomes the object of your attention. That's where you place your energy.
Yeah.
And so what's the utilitarian value of that? In being in resistance, like you're just causing more problems. It's like jumping into the water and you notice there's a ripple because you jumped in, but you want the water to be calm and smooth. So you flail around in an attempt to get it to all settle down. Like you're just making a bigger mess, right? So acceptance is just simply the awareness that this is the situation and I'm satisfied. It's what is. And people are like, no, how could you accept a situation that your world just came crumbling down? Like,
Yeah.
how is that acceptable? What is there for me here to accept? I'm pissed. I'm sad. I'm scared. I'm angry. Whatever the case is, it's like that. Go ahead.
So one of the things, I mean, it's I guess it's important to highlight, right? Acceptance doesn't mean that you agree with it. It doesn't mean, all right, so let's unpack that.
Yeah. Okay. So
it doesn't mean that it means that it is what it is. It's what's happening. It's in front of me. I may not like it necessarily or agree with like the way that this thing is being unfolding right in front of me, but it is what it is, and I'm sitting well with it. Is that what you mean by it?
yeah,
Or?
absolutely. Because we'll give a strong foundation to build off of.
Yeah.
So, do you have a belief in a higher power?
Yes.
Okay, great. And I think most listeners do as well. Not everybody, but most people subscribe to some kind of higher power, God, universe, whatever you want to call it. And if you think about it, like that source can only be all loving,
Yeah.
not like vindictive or get revenge and because you did something bad and I'm going to punch you. Like that doesn't happen to the mind of God, right? So if the mind of God is all loving, then clearly anything and everything happening in your reality could only be happening for you. Like there is no obstacles. There is no undesirable circumstance. It's just an illusion through the lens of preference, meaning the mind dictating this is what I want and I'm going to force and I'm going to coerce and I'm going to manipulate in order to get it. And this is what I don't want, so I'm going to attempt to push that away. No, all these things are not happening to you, the bad things. They're happening for you. It's for your benefit because there's a lesson there that you get to learn. I don't believe that like we're tested, right? There's no pass or fail because if there was, there'd have to be a scoreboard somewhere, and I'm not sure where that is, right?
Yeah.
Like there's no sign up with God. It's like, oh, situation 1, Justin 0. Like that's not happening. And like who's keeping score?
We keep track of that kind of stuff ourselves, right? But it's not necessarily a game of life.
Yeah, exactly. So you're right. People are keeping score, but for the sake of what? Like is to go on a report card that you show to somebody? Like what does that get you? Like it's futile. There's no benefit to it. There's a huge cost in self-esteem, self-worth, all that kind of stuff, but there's no benefit. And so since it's not a test of pass or fail, it's just simply, how is this happening for me? Like, what is the lesson here? So,
no, go ahead, continue. I do that a lot. So, like, I have a thought, and then it'll look like I'm about to spill my guts, but
yeah,
I wait.
But you're not.
I wait.
So, it's just that really, like, clearly everything's happening for you. So, for example. Let's say you're in real estate, whether that's as a realtor, an investor, whatever the case is, and you've got a portfolio of properties. Next thing you know, we have 2007 crash, and you lose everything. You go bankrupt, foreclose on all your properties. You've lost it all, and this is it, and I'm satisfied. Like, how the hell could you be satisfied with that? Simply because there's something that I didn't know in the journey on my path to create all of this. And let me also remind myself that I'm the one that created it. Like unless somebody short of like gave you their whole portfolio of all these properties and clients or whatever the case is, like you developed that, you created it, you generated it. So there's an awareness that I created that. And if I created that, like I can create anything. And let's not forget, this too shall pass.
Yeah.
Right? Like even our lives are going to end. Everything comes to an end. It's like the impermanence of everything. So it's a state of flow, allowing things to come into your life and out of your life, because most of the times when they leave, it's not something that you could have controlled. It was taken away. So why are we going to be in resistance to that? And let's not forget, you created what was taken away. And so like to have the realization of, okay, financially, how could I have fortified myself to account for a market shift or crash like this? Because it's going to happen. It's a market. It's what it does. Do you know what I mean? Like, so where was I not being a good steward of my money? Where was I not planning or fortifying myself to take this into consideration? Because I knew better. I just didn't do better. So what situation could happen that something's taken away from you and it didn't happen for your benefit? I mean, it's a way to look at it, because the cost to look at it that way objectively, to see things as they are, not as we are, like, it costs you nothing but a little bit of time of contemplation, But the rewards, the internal, which is the internal peace, the non-judgment, understanding the impermanence, the non-attachment to things, man, like you said, those people that are just in a state of peace, they're at ease, not in dis-ease. You know what I mean? Like, isn't that the state of being that we truly desire or aspire to be? Or do you want to be stressed out, always worrying about, okay, how do I get more and how do I keep what I got? Like, that sounds exhausting.
And I want to make a big distinction too. It's not a state of carelessness.
No.
I feel like it's, and I think one good question, right, to ask is, like, oftentimes the first thing that pops in your mind is, man, why is this happening? Why is this happening? Why? Why is this happening to me? Or why did that go south? Why did I not get the results? And I feel like that, I mean, that comes from that the source of something like that can be almost a sense of defeat, right? But if you ask yourself, how?
Better question.
Yeah, a better question is, how is this happening
for me?
For me. How, whatever comes at you. I mean, I feel like that's a base of empowerment, because now you're thinking, you're trying to dissect things and being proactive about what's to come afterwards. And if we're looking at acceptance, again, it's about being at ease with whatever is coming at you, not necessarily about loving it. And I know you may disagree on that note, but it's like, I want to. A lot of times, it's not easy to love the bad stuff that comes at us, right? However, if we surrender to it and it's like, shit, this is here, it's part of it. How is this happening? For me, and how can I channel this, whatever it is, if it's a bad situation, how can I channel it into something that's positive? If it's a positive situation, like, how can I amplify it?
This is the process to do that.
Yeah.
First of all, it's to have the awareness of, I'm the one judging the situation. Like, the situation is neutral. I'm the one assigning meaning or significance of, this is bad. And that's a judgment. It's a preference. And it's only bad because it's not what I wanted. But who the hell are you? You know what I mean? Like, you had expectations. And like you said, Mike Tyson's quote, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face, right? Like, the punches come, the hits come. And so why not plan for that? Why not predict, knowing that it's just a natural part of the cycle? And again, things are always in a state of flow. It's an energy, right? The situation, the person, the money, the whatever. It's just an energy. And it moves in a currency. Energy moves into form, through form, and out of form. Like, why did you expect that it was going to be permanent? And therefore attached to it? Because I finally got it and I got to hang on to it. Like, no, you're doing that, not the situation. And so when it's taken away, like, so offended people are. It's like, well, I'm confused.
Yeah.
How you could, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's strange. And so it's like, if you just think of it in this term, when a situation occurs, a circumstance, condition, that's not what you wanted, and now you're not okay on the inside, right? Like, emotions are flaring, angry, sad, worried, anxious. You'd have to agree then, in that state of being, the situation is controlling your state.
Yeah.
Right? You're not in control. And so if you're not in control, you're not objective, you can't see it for what it truly is, you're looking at the situation and judging it through a biased lens. That's called victim, right? So a situation occurs, and instead of the old personality going through its normal cycle that's not productive, why not just look at it as, okay, how can I respond? Because I have an intention of what I want to create, clearly. Otherwise, I'd be aimless, right? So there's a preference in the sense of, for example, so I have my brokerage, and then I created a bunch of other ancillary businesses that support it and my clients, which are the realtors. Now, why did I do that? Because I wanted more shit to do? Because I wanted to be busy? Well, partly. But idle hands aren't good.
It's called OCD.
Yeah, no. But really, it was like, it's very simple. My intent was I wanted to provide a better product at a better price with better service for my clients. That's it.
Yeah.
And creating an ecosystem just logically made sense. Okay, so the market shifts today, and it's all wiped out. So what? Now what? Throw it in the bucket. I'm moving forward. And if I created that beautiful thing, I wonder what's next with all that I just learned through that process. Like, that developed me. Like, mistakes are inevitable, not planning or predicting for things is going to happen because you don't know it all. And why is that a problem? Why? Because people judge a situation and they say, put a label on themselves, well, I'm a failure because I lost it all. No, it was taken away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you might have made a mistake by not planning or predicting for that situation to occur. However, now you know, and you're more developed to go at it again or a different direction with that information. Like, taking the lesson from a situation and removing the energy from it is called wisdom.
You know one thing, absolutely, man. One thing that I've worked on over the last several years, actually, is this sense, like, now I feel like it's a superpower, right? Because it's after, obstacle and obstacle and obstacle, you get to this point where you just become confident that you're going to figure shit out.
Of course.
You're going to figure it out. But that doesn't come until you get to a point where, whatever's thrown at you, you have the ability to see it, and release the energy behind it. If you're pissed off about something, you're gonna get married to that idea, to that emotion, to that feeling. If you're upset, I just had an experience. I got a flat tire, so I went to the tire shop this morning, and the guy just starts, sparking up conversation with me. And he goes, what do you do for a living? So I kind of break, my whole thing down, and I'm walking him through this process, and I told him, about the Mindset podcast. It's like, man, I probably should have, heard one of your episodes this morning. I was like, why? What's going on? I was trying to get, my phone to work with something else, and then I couldn't get it to work, and I got stressed. Eventually, and this is a brand new phone. Like, he bought it, like, I don't know. He was saying that he bought the phone like a month ago. So he got pissed off, and he tossed the phone across the room, hit the wall, phone fucking breaks. So now he's got no phone. He can't bill because he's using an app to bill for whatever.
Perfect.
So now he's got multiple different problems because of that energy that took over at that one point, as opposed to like accepting that, okay, shit, the Wi-Fi or the Bluetooth is not working right now. And like the point I'm trying to highlight is when we have any type of energy married to something that may not be in alignment with who we are, with what we're trying to do, with route that we're trying to take, it's bound to create collateral emotions.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
And those stack up. Just like anything else, and they'll start adding. Yeah, no, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't do this. Like, all that. Like, trust me, it's like droplets of water into a cup. Eventually, the cup is gonna spill, right?
Yep.
And that's because we're not accepting the situation, and thus there's no point of beginning to a solution to it.
Oh man, there's no resolution, and there. Does
that make sense?
Yeah. Well, okay. So here's a situation that everybody can identify with, I'm sure. So
I feel like what I just said was super smart. I'm just gonna say that
it was pretty good. Yeah.
I'll accept it. I'm accepting that. Thank you.
Can we move on now?
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. So
I'll be here a week.
Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. So
can't take me anywhere.
Yeah, I know, right? So a situation that everybody can identify with. Everybody has been in a fight with their honey, their spouse. Yeah?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, right? No, not me. So you have an argument, you've got some energy on something, and so you finally speak up and you say something, yeah? And then not only are your words not met with compassion, consideration, understanding, it's met with resistance.
It's not your true self.
Yeah, no. So you wanted to express something because it bothers you, and then it was shut down or rejected, whatever the case is. And then now there's some sadness of like, I don't feel important to you. And so now that oscillates into anger, right?
Yeah.
And then now I bring up another point and another point, and then they're arguing it, and we're just going back and forth. Pretty soon we're on like topic number 100, and emotions are raging, and finally one of the two come to like their senses, like, wait, what's going on here? Let's stop this. Inevitably the fight stops somehow, some way. And then, I don't know about you, but then the thought comes in of like, what the hell were we even talking about? Yeah. You know what I mean? Because like we went off on so many tangents. It's that collateral damage. And typically in those situations, like hate speech comes out. You know what I mean? Like things you don't really mean, things that are hurtful because you're hurting. And so it's like, that's the power behind what you resist persists. Whatever becomes the object of your attention, your focus, is where you put in more energy in. So the guy with the phone, right? It's not working. Frustration turns into chaos and boom, breaks the phone. Like, great job.
Yeah.
And how many people have done that? Or punched a hole in a wall or what? Like, not controlling your emotions because you don't have the awareness that it's not me doing it. It's just my normal pattern. It's my program. It's a mental model that's running me instead of me becoming aware, taking a step back, getting objective of like, the situation's happening for me. Maybe with your honey in that fight, it's a situation of like being present in the moment, being mindful of what's really going on so that I can regulate myself with that energy coming up because they just said something that poked me. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, this is happening for me to practice, not test me.
I mean, I like that word, regulate. I think it hits the nail right on the head. We have reactions to everything, right? And
of course.
Yeah, and I think because we are reacting, we're like instantly jumping to conclusions, to actions without even thinking about, the sequence of what's going on. We get into trouble a lot of times, right?
Oh yeah.
That's one.
Predictably.
Yeah. So that's on the like from the pragmatic standpoint, right? Like the stuff that's happening right now, but also on the energetic standpoint, when we like the more that we push back on certain things, the bigger the problem becomes. It's just the energy behind it, and like if it's not your first, if it's your first time listening to the podcast, we get super woo woo in it. But is it the energy that and welcome to the show, by the way. But the energy behind, the thought of pushing or having that resistance into something creates, more resistance. Like you said, you resist persists, right?
Multiplies.
Yeah, and I think so the concept of acceptance, it's to me it's common sense, right? Like, okay, now I understand through a lot of work, setting my ego aside, self-understanding, self-awareness, and practicing that on a regular basis. I understand now that, okay, acceptance is the first thing to creating any type of progress, any type of solution, any time, whatever, right?
Yeah.
I have to accept the fact that that's where I'm at. This is where I'm standing. Cut the bullshit out, and then move forward from that point of acceptance. Now, what I want to dive a little deeper into is acceptance without preference. That second part. and this is the unpopular opinion, thing that I was talking about. In my head, all right. Go. So and this is I'm honest question. I'm not trying. So in my head, when you have no preference, right? We talk about envisioning. We talk about creating a path. Creating. So anytime we do that, by default, there's a preference in place, right? I'd rather have this type of life than this type of life that's lower frequency or lower whatever. So there's a preference there. So what do you mean by with no preference? Because to me it's so it's hard to chew on.
I'm not when I say no preference, what I'm talking about is the lack of attachment to the end result. So that means then I can have an intention of what I desire to create. Yeah. I can have an intention of for the sake of what? Like, what is the energy behind my intent in creating this or experiencing that? Okay? Yeah. And so, Buddha said that all human life is suffering. Why? Because of preference. And, again, for those that subscribe to, let's say, God in the biblical sense, like Christ said, my burden is light. What do you mean by that? It meant that without preference, whatever happens, I'm okay with it. In so much as like being crucified on the cross. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and then the last meal and last supper and all those kinds of things. Like, he was passed the cup to basically, painkiller, whatever the case is. I haven't read that part, so I'm paraphrasing. But basically, like, he passed the cup. Like, I don't need that because I'm accepting the situation. That's what he means by my burden is light, is that I'm not suffering on the inside with my preference. Yeah. And so the key to inner peace is just that, no preference. So I have an intention, but it's the understanding that I have an intention of what I want to create, and I'm going along in doing so. And then something happens that's not what I wanted. Notice that's just my mind with its preference. And it is not accepting of the situation. Now, if I, the one in there witnessing my mind with this whole dynamic, realizes wait a minute, this is just a situation. And if I'm objective and I can see the situation for what it is, now I can access all possible solutions, potential outcomes, how I can respond to the situation so I can be responsible, and I'm moving forward. It doesn't mean an obstacle happens and now I quit because I didn't get what I wanted and let me throw in the towel. That's a preference. And it's a normal model for people that quit. Like they quit everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah, it becomes a habit too. I mean, it's sad to see it, but it truly is like almost an MO.
It is
of the average person that hops into any type of challenge.
In fact, they create them and they don't even know it because they have an emotional addiction to the drama of it all, or the stress, or the anger.
The need to fix broken stuff. It's also one of the things. Anyways, that's a whole other tangent. But going back to the preference. All right, now that makes a lot more sense. So situationally, I mean, you're talking like A happens or B happens. I mean, shit, it happened. Okay, cool. The intention behind the where you want to head is not what you're talking about. You're talking about that particular challenge, that particular thing that comes at you,
the reality that's unfolded.
Yeah.
Because I mean, here's the deal: our planet has been around for billions of years. Yes.
Yeah.
And so all of the seconds before this very moment have unfolded perfectly for a reason that caused this situation to occur that I'm experiencing.
Yeah.
Like, it's perfect. Now, I'm not able to see that if I'm in resistance with my preference of this shouldn't be. It should be that, which I intended. It's like you're missing it.
Yeah, and you're right about that. When we're looking for something specific, that's all we see. Mm-hmm. Like at least is the only type of things that we recognize, right? Mm-hmm. Type of conversation. Again, if you're in a negative state of mind, everything's gonna be negative. Like everything around you.
You'll have a problem with everything.
You're gonna be treated like shit by waitresses, like anywhere, right? That's how it works. It's incredible. That's really how it works. It's the energy behind the thing. So
absolute accuracy too.
Yeah, man, and it's almost crafting the life that you're living through the belief that you're having of how you're seeing everything else. So okay, that to me was that's what I wasn't understanding. I wasn't understanding the whole preference portion of it. Intention is it's a whole other thing, right? I mean, it really comes above it. So you set the intention, and then as you're going through the process, whatever happens, A or B, you take that, and then you just take it and kind of reassess from there, and then move forward from that. Again, at the end of the day, you have to have a degree of acceptance of whatever is happening, so you can create some progress, right?
Well, and I'll tell you, here's just a quick example. Let's take somebody that grew up poor, and therefore they've always been in a state of scarcity, and there's never been enough money. So they become an entrepreneur, and they grind and they hustle and they force and they manipulate and they lie, they cheat, they steal to get what they want. And some of these people can create an abundance of money.
Yeah.
And then the entire time they're stressed about what? Losing it.
Yeah.
And they had to rob, steal, and cheat to acquire all of this. And what inevitably happens to these people? They live a peaceful life of abundance with beautiful relationships? No, obviously not.
Yeah.
Of course not, right? And so that person is stressed until the day they die and likely die broke. Because the energy of their intent was fear the entire time. That's where scarcity comes from. Versus, let's say that you start a company simply because it's the highest and best to fill a need for humanity, for the collective. Yeah. And if it profits, fantastic. So long as it doesn't lose money and I don't have to infuse cash, I'm perfectly satisfied.
Yeah.
Those are the kinds of things that explode and take off because it's a beautiful energy of the intent behind why does it even exist? It's here to support humanity, to contribute something long after I'm gone, the creator of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Energy flows where attention goes. And if the energy of the intent behind it is pure for the highest and best outcome, game over.
Yeah. No, I agree with that 100% actually. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. So I mean, if you're listening, right, ask yourself the question like, what am I in resistance of, right? What are you not accepting that's coming at you? that's not in alignment with your ideal life or the vision, or I mean, if you do boards or whatever, like it's not part of that thing, right? There's a lot of things that hit us, the blindside us as we're going through life, not just entrepreneurship, but life in general, right? So I feel like the question of how, right? How is this happening for me? Puts us in a state of critical thinking that allows us to understand it better, right? More importantly, allows us to think more creatively as to how we can come in and shift, some of that energy,
totally.
into something that's more proactive.
Yeah, well, like Wayne Dyer, one of my favorite quotes from him is, you can either be a host to God, a conduit, so to speak, or a hostage to your ego, the preference.
Love it.
And so it's like, when you're objective and you're present in the moment and you're accepting of what is, you're completely open to receive information. So you're resourceful, forward moving, like productive, and you're in a state of peace the entire time. Like, that's blissful.
Yeah, like my buddy at the tire shop. I mean, he was in a state of acceptance when he broke his phone, so he was being productive about calling Verizon and getting a new phone. So, like, he couldn't do that if he hadn't accepted from what was broken.
He was still pissed off, yeah.
Yeah.
He'd be wanting to call someone to tell him about how pissed off he was, but he didn't have a phone.
And it may be a silly example, right? But it's real. It's the kind of shit that we go through on a daily basis. So that, I mean, applies to, I don't know, this morning, right now, literally right now, this very second, it's applying to the noise around the podcast. It's annoying me, right? And I was gonna right now. Okay, so this is literally what I was gonna do about 30 seconds ago. I was gonna ask Giovanni to do a cap and edit and whatever, and then scream out, we're recording, keep it low.
Shut the fuck up. Yeah,
keep it low, right? And then I was like, we're talking about acceptance.
That's perfect.
And
absolutely perfect.
Right, so it's the awareness of the entire, and it's not even an idea, man. It can be a way of life, right? If we understand where we're at, like, okay, cool. I mean, is that something that's going to be, detrimental in the long run? I mean, that's one thing to ask, right? I don't know, to just get over that hump of emotion.
Yeah. Well, that was so what you just did was a display of emotional regulation. Yeah. Right. Like, it's the reason that I do the cold plunge every morning, because I'm stressed. I want to get out. My mind has preference, not to be in the water, right? Okay, well, that's my opportunity to practice what I think I know, which is get behind the mind so I can direct it, to quiet it down so that it's not running the show, that I am the one in there, and I'm objective about everything. That's such a peaceful state of being.
Yeah, so...
How else do you get to acceptance?
Exactly. And unless we get to a point of we're in agreement that this is where we're at. We're accepting this point of life right now. It's impossible to move forward. Yeah. All right. So I mean, I think it's one of the biggest points to make throughout the entire conversation is it's you have to be, and like, your ground zero is always going to be acceptance. You can move forward from there. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And you know what? Sometimes people just need a pity party. So cool. Like, set a timer for 5 minutes and go for it. Yeah. You know what I mean?
See yourself as being on the negative side of progress up until you get to acceptance. Acceptance is your what do you call it? Your center line for progress.
Yeah, absolutely. And so sometimes we just have to discharge the energy we've been storing. Yeah. So fine, discharge it, but do it in a healthy manner. Do it in a constructive way. Not like, because if you don't, what's inevitably going to happen through your resistance is it's going to be discharged at the most inconvenient time, on the wrong place or the wrong person. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
displaced aggression.
That's important. That's important too. For me, only two things work: talking about it and working out. It's not one or the two. It's two things. I actually have to work out, get my body tired, get exhausted, and then like get that physical energy out of me. Yeah. And then I have to get the emotional energy out of me.
Do you know?
It's two things.
Do you know why that works? With the physical exhaustion?
Oh, break it down.
Because mentally, emotionally, chemically, hormonally, you got no fight left in you.
Oh yeah, yeah.
What a beautiful state! Like, and is that a healthy way to channel it?
It's how, yeah,
absolutely.
Otherwise, man, I create.
Yeah, punching things and
yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, I end up punching things through like my punching bag, right?
Yeah,
but like that's
fine.
It's meant to take it.
Exactly.
So yeah, but it's important to do that kind of stuff, right? But again, whatever gets us to that, we're not yogis. Like we're not, I'm not.
I don't live in a cave and meditate all day.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's not, there's gotta be friction, right? There's gonna be, moments where you say like, what the fuck? It doesn't mean that we can't get ourselves back to center and have the awareness of what's going on. It's like, all right, cool. How is this thing happening for me? Is it teaching me patience? Is it, teaching me, to adopt a different perspective?
Yeah.
Is it teaching me to think outside the box? Is it teaching me to reach out to other people and collaborate? Is it teaching me to reach less and keep, more to myself? Like, what is this? How is this working for me? How is this current situation in my life working for me? And you can't get to that level of critical thinking if you're still in negative state of mind, if you're still judging, if you're still victimizing yourself about what's going on. You can't get to a positive construct.
Yep.
Right? Well, we're in that negative space.
100%.
So, good talk, dude.
Yeah, man, that was fun.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Justin, where can somebody get a hold of you if they want to reach out, continue the convo, pick your brain?
Absolutely. JustinThorstad.com. Of course, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube at Mindset Coach JT, or my cell, 602-348-8534.
There we go. I'm telling you, one day you're going to get swarmed with a whole bunch of calls.
Don't throw me with a good
change
time.
your number.
No.
All right, fam, I hope you liked it as much as I did. Do us a big favor. These conversations are a two-way street, right? We get a lot of comments too and buying from people. We love that kind of stuff. So make sure that you will let us know if you're liking what you're listening to on the podcast. If you have a specific topic that you want to break down, pick our brains on what we think. Again, two-way street, all right? Drop it in the comments. Make sure that you subscribe, like, and share. Send this out to somebody who you think might benefit from our crazy combos. And we'll catch you guys on the next one. Until then, stay focused. You got this. Let's go.